Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's August 17th, 2021, and today I thought I'd start off a new playlist series. I've talked about how I want to incorporate cover crops into our food forest and into our garden plots as well. We've had a lot of success using our weed mats and drip irrigation and all, but I've always wanted to incorporate cover crops into all of our garden beds. And so we're going to be doing this gradually over time. It's going to be a big learning process for me. I've done lots of research in the past. But today I thought I'd just do a little bit of an introduction. We'll take a quick look at 3 different areas on the property. An area that I had tarp with occultation using a black tarp, which is down and back where the old hugelkultur mounds and hugelkultur mounds were, and the hugelkultur beds, and then a place by the solar panels where we've had a hugelkultur pit, and we grew raspberries there as well, and then in the area where we're growing the garlic and the shallots as well. So that's up in the 3rd food forest area. So what are some of the reasons why we think about using cover crops? Well, certainly with cover crops we might use it as a mulch. That's certainly a good possibility because we can cool the surface and maintain less dynamic temperature ranges by having a good cover crop on it. The cover crop also can be act as a green manure, and that's when maybe you'd flail mow it and then till it into the soil. I don't want to do rototilling. The most tilling that I want to be doing in these beds will be using the tilther, which is that small little battery operated tilther that will just disturb the surface of the soil so I can plant into it. I'm hoping I don't have to use that at all when I plant the garlic and the shallots up there this season. The other reason is less need for rotation of crops, because if we're incorporating the appropriate cover crops and you have enough diversity in our cover crops, we can decrease the chances of opportunistic or pathogens that develop in the soil. We can always be replenishing all the vital nutrients that are necessary, the minerals, the carbon, the nitrogen, all the macronutrients and micronutrients necessary in those garden beds as well. And certainly we can sequester carbon by having as much of our growing season as possible after the snow melts. Having these beds so that we're always having something green growing there, a diversity of different species, where we can have photosynthesis taking simple carbohydrates, simple amino acids, and going down and starting to build soil. Because what I've done in the past is lots of composting, and now with persistent herbicides, which I've talked about Grazon in the past as a persistent herbicide, the broad expanded use of various herbicides such as Roundup and 2,4-D and a whole variety of different herbicides, and they're every place now. They're in our water, they're in our rainwater, they're every place. So by having a polyculture, if you will, or multiple different plant species being utilized as a cover crop, depending on the time of year and the span that we've got to have the bed open for, we're going to be exploring those areas anyways. Something that with the use of the various herbicides and all, I had wanted to use more hay and straw for building soil and bedding around and mulching around our crops and all, but it doesn't seem to me that that's the safest thing to do, where I can get organic seed that's been inoculated, and that way we can establish a system where we don't have to worry about any minimal outside impacts other than the rain and wind-blown seeds and so on. We can control our beds much more. We certainly want to keep building rich, dark, beautiful soils and really build them deeper and deeper. So we're going to be using a diversity of different seeds, like we think of the daikon radish as being an accumulator of the nutrients inside of that root system that will be available to the microbes in the area as it's broken down, and the insects and earthworms, red wigglers, all of those organisms will be in the soil and doing their own worm castings as well. So by maintaining as much root in the root structure within the soil, as well as much biomass above the surface of the soil, we can build soil much more quickly and not have as many negative impacts by the composted manures that may have some of the persistent herbicides, or picking up some of the pathogens that we could get from some of the turkey or chicken manures and so on. So those are all the things that, some of the reasons, not all of the reasons, but those are the reasons that I can come up with right away for why I want to use cover crops. And I think this will end up being a playlist, because this is going to be a tremendous learning experience for me, despite having read a fair amount about and watching some very knowledgeable people and reading books. Dirt to Soil I've mentioned before, and there's other books that I'm looking at, and I'll recommend them in the future as well. But I'm going with organic inoculated seeds at this point. Those of you that have experience with cover crops, if you've got resources that you think that really provide great combinations of various cover crop seeds, I'll be talking about the ones the first ones that I'm using here in just a moment. Please leave comments below. Any of your thoughts as far as resources, where you get your seeds is important. Certainly what crops you find useful in your zone, and please mention the zone that you're in. Like, we're in zone 5A here, and we're in Oswego, New York, so we get lots of snow over the winter months. And so any information you're able to provide in the comments below can be very helpful to all of us. So some people may say, geez, I want to get the garlic out, and then I want to get my carrots in. And so you're going to have 4 weeks of a cover crop. How are you going to terminate that cover crop? So termination of the cover crop may be that, it won't survive our harsh winters, so we can leave the cover crop on there, let it stabilize the soil, let the winter come, kill off the cover crop that's there, and in the spring plant in the spring. Or can I actually put a cover crop in at the same time in the fall when I plant my garlic and shallots, and let that grow some and then die off and provide a mulch for in the springtime when it's there? So I've thought about things like that, like buckwheat, but I think buckwheat's going to break down relatively quickly. We'll have to see. So I have very limited experience with these various cover crops. So any of your contributions in the discussions below, in the comments below, can really help us all. The place that I went and ordered my first batches of mixed seeds is trueleaf.com, and let me see. So they've got Mountain Valley Seed with their address. This is in Utah, and their website is trueleaf.com. And so this is called their Garden Crop Mix, and this is Triticale Forage FX 1001 is one seed, Austrian winter peas, wheat, and that's Brundage is the variety, daikon radish, driller is the variety, hairy vetch, VNS, I'm not sure what VNS stands for, red medium clover, VNS as well is the variety, rape is a trophy variety, Bermson clover, frosty variety, and yellow mustard, VNS. And if you know what VNS stands for, please leave that in the comments below. So they talk about what's the percentage of each seed, what their germination is, and what their origin: Montana, Canada, Indiana, Oregon, are all places that various seeds that they collected. These are all inoculated as well, so that the rhizobacteria are there readily available for the nitrogen fixers, so that they can fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and put it into the soil. And certainly some of these, like I mentioned, the daikon radish, that root is going to maintain a lot of the nutrients that are being produced and liberated by the other plants. So what do I mean by about liberating from the other plants? Now, before, I've talked quite a bit about mycorrhizal fungi. That's what I call the internet under the soil. That's the one of the, the fungal kingdom. When we think of the mycorrhizal fungi, their filaments are so extensive that they can physically extend the functional root extension of trees and various plants. Now, not all plants, like blueberries and brassicas, they don't have a relationship with the mycorrhizal fungi, but there is, over 95%, I think it's like 97% of plants in the plant kingdom do have a relationship with one of the mycorrhizae. And so getting an inoculum with several different species is certainly beneficial. Now, the rhizobacterium is going to take the nitrogen from the atmosphere and help to adhere it to some of the seeds like clover, lupine, and so on, the peas and all. So the legumes will work symbiotically with the rhizobacteria. Then there's another relationship where it's a rhizophagy cycle. Rhizo meaning root. When we say phagocytic, we're talking about cells that engulf things. Like part of our innate immune system is a phagocytic process where our macrophages and neutrophils can engulf harmful bacteria or debris and clean it out of our bodies. While there's this rhizophagy cycle is where bacteria and fungi actually get incorporated into the root surface, and they have some time within the root of the plant and times out of the root of the plant. So there's this relationship of taking nutrients and simple sugars, simple amino acids and all, and taking those out of the plant and bringing back nutrients that they've mined from either other plants, from other fungi, from other bacteria, or from other root systems. And it's a nice exchange unit. It's a symbiotic relationship. There's oxidative processes that facilitate this whole process of exchange so that the nutrients get absorbed into the plants. And this cycle is so important to me because of we see that there's clinical research being done now in people where, we're whole food plant-based, so we don't eat any animal products. And I'm not preaching to anyone, I'm just sharing about us. But I know in some clinical studies where patients have been fed while in clinics or under the control of going and working in a place where they feel fantastic and all, then they go home and they even are getting their food at the farmer's market or getting it online or getting it at their organic grocery department and all, and they aren't doing as well. So the thing that I would say is we're minimum till, but no till doesn't mean that that's all pure. Being organic doesn't mean that it's all the best. And so maximizing the nutrients within the plants that we're growing, so we can get as many of those nutrients, that's dependent on the soil, and the soil is dependent on the microorganisms, and the microorganisms are dependent upon the soil structure, and the soil structure is very dependent upon the plant species, the multicultural plants that are there to help facilitate the transfer and the availability of the different organisms, the different plant species, to integrate with the various microorganisms. It's very similar, and I've talked about the microbiomes in people and within our digestive system and in our feces. The microbial community helps us to avoid having problems like leaky gut syndrome. So many people have leaky gut syndrome where the intercellular adhesion molecules, the ICAMs, separate from your colonocytes, the cells that line your colon, and your enterocytes, the signs that line your small intestine. They can separate because glyphosate is one of those agents that actually helps to loosen that up. And there's glyphosate in so many different products that we have. So many different food sources that are available to us. Even, if you go to buy alfalfa, well, there's a Roundup ready alfalfa, and so the alfalfa may look great, the horses may love it, you may think it's fantastic for your garden beds, but unless it's organic and non-GMO, then there's a chance of having those issues. And I'm going down a whole path that I didn't want to get into, but that's part of my whole clinical background, is looking at what's going on with clinical studies and what is the variability when people are eating the same diet under a controlled environment and then they're buying a different product, thinking that they're getting the exact same products. So it can be organic and not have all of those microbial communities because they may not be using cover crops with a diversity of different species. So, oh boy, I opened a can of worms. So there's all of these things that I think about. You don't have to think about it. These are thoughts. I'm just sharing with you my thought processes and some of the reasons why I'm going into this journey of utilizing various different cover crop seeds. And any suggestions, once again, that you have for cover crop seeds, I only want to use organic. I only want to deal with pre-inoculated seeds as well, so that it's less things that I have to do here on our site. So all of that is important information for me to learn about and to share with you as I go through this whole process. So what's going to show up now is we're going to walk back first to the area where the most recent seeds were started. And that's where the hugelkultur beds were. And when I talked about deconstructing, I think it was 2 years ago, taking apart that very large hugelkultur mound that had shrunken down over time, and it wasn't used for a couple of years. And so that's the first place. I had tarps on it since within a couple of days after removing the tarps from the garden plots up here. I had placed those and maybe it was a week. Place those tarps down on, these are black UV treated tarps back there. That killed off just about everything, the grasses and all, with the exception of those root structures like the like dockweed, and I don't know what else. There could be some burdock there. Oh, anything that's got really good size root structure. Could be pigweed back there as well. So that's the first place that we're going to, and you'll see I just got the seed down last week, sorry, and we got a little bit of rain. I think we got 0.2 of an inch of rain. Last night we got about, last night and this morning we got about 0.8 of an inch of rain, and I haven't been irrigating that area. I have planned to, but I'm just busy harvesting and repairing things right now and processing things. So that's that with the first bed. Then we go over behind the solar panels, between the pond 6 and the solar panels. Pond 6 is the one that I'm digging out, and there's the area where the hugelkultur pit is. So that's all the woody material buried underground, and I had raspberries growing there. I've grown gardens in there in the past, but a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks ago, I broadcast seed in there, and that bed, there is a hydrant at the end of the bed away from where we're standing when I shoot the video, where I've got a hose, one of those flexible hoses, that I can water the plants down every 3 or 4 days if there's no rain. So that those plants have really come on strong. And then we go up to the third food forest where the garlic and the shallots are planted, and I harvested all of those in July. and planted this seed. It took me a day or two to get the beds ready, and I planted this cover crop seed. All of it's the same cover crop seed in all 3 beds. I hand casted the seed in the garlic beds because they're so narrow beds, and so we'll look at those as well. So if you found this video valuable, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Feel free to leave comments. I'll try to remember to make a playlist of cover crop as we go through this. It's going to take, this playlist is going to take years for me to feel competent at working with these various seeds and being able to discuss these intellectually and with research behind them as well. So, and please leave comments down below. I think that's valuable, and you can always help us out by shopping on Amazon. If you shop on Amazon, use our affiliate link down below, and that can always help out our channel and help me to make more videos as well. Thanks so much for watching, folks. Stay safe and take good care of yourselves, and think about doing more gardening. It's good, healthy exercise. Bye-bye now. Okay, so I'm back here by pond 6. This is a pond that's really leaky, all sand and gravel down in the base of this pond, and I've got to do a lot more work with this, but this is the area that was an area where we had hugelkultur pits and a large hugelkultur mound. And last week, just before a rain, I took Thea's B2601 Mini-Me, the Kubota tractor, down here with the York rake, and I raked up all the rocks that I disturbed previously back in this area. We had removed the tarps that were occultation, and you could see where the tarp line was, and we started putting our cover crop seed down here. I had difficulties with the wheeled unit that I was using to broadcast the seed, so it's not evenly distributed, but this is the location. So it had been rained on directly after I seeded it, about 2/10 of an inch of rain, and then last night we got some more rain, about 8/10 of an inch of rain, last night and this morning. So this is the area where the seed is. It goes all the way down around here, and you can see a fair amount of the seed is germinating at this time. So this seed is from Mountain Valley Seed. I purchased it through trueleafmarket.com, and this is a garden cover crop mix, which contains triticale forage FX1001, Austrian wheat peas, wheat, daikon radish, hairy vetch, red medium clover, rape, trophy rape, berm seed clover, frosty, and yellow mustard, VNS. So as you can see, a lot of these seeds have not fully germinated yet, so hopefully we'll get some more germination. I'll show you an area in a moment that we seeded, I think a little over 2 weeks ago now, maybe closer to 3 weeks ago. Now I can see there are weed seeds starting to germinate here as well, and there is some dock down in here that I can see that was not killed off. Of course, when they have large root masses, they can certainly recover, but we can see a fair amount of good seed right in this area with some weed seed. And when I first started, the unit was, the pores in the walk behind rolled cedar were very, very wide open, so you can see it's very heavy here and very heavy here. And I did put some of our curly kale seed in it that had a poor germination because it's older, and I did put some of our what is it now, I can't remember. There was another seed that I put in there. It's just to use up some of our seed. So the seed could be any seed, but this is it. This is really hard compacted soil, very, very bony gravel base. This is one area right here where a hugelkultur pit, or not a hugelkultur bed was placed. This is a large area here where a hugelkultur mound and pit was placed. Over there is a location where the hugelkultur bed was. So you can see the areas that have the more rich soil, it looks like there's more germination in these areas. This is another area here that we had. This was all lawn over in this area. So it's just very compacted rocky gravel here. There's decent soil in here, rocky gravel, decent soil there, and then rocky gravel, and then some decent soil. So we'll see how things turn out here. The rain that did come down, the first rain, it was a pretty heavy, a very short, heavy downpour. So we'll have to see how that actually turns out. Now we'll go up here to the area that I do have some irrigation. This has not been irrigated at all. It was just 2 bits of rain last night and today, and directly after I placed the seed on the ground. I tried to pick as many rocks out of this area, but this is the area you can see some of the daikon radish right there. The rape, you can see the vetch as well. Certainly the wheat. Some of the, there's clover down in there as well. All very small. So this is just 2 to 3 weeks. There's a bit of quackgrass right there. But things are coming along pretty nicely. I've got a hose down at that end with the hydrant, so I'm able to walk down here. So if I have 4 days of dryness, I'll come down here and soak it pretty good in the morning, is what I've been doing with this. So far I'm real happy with how the seeding has taken in this area. Now we'll go up to where the garden and shallots were planted. Okay, we're up here where the garlic and shallots have been planted. I hand distributed the seeds for both of these beds. These are the same seed, came from the same seed company and distributor. So you could see these are just over 4 weeks old, and you see the vetch is doing, the peas are actually doing okay. And you see the daikon radish. Boy, it looks like they're going to get ready to go to flower. I don't see too much weed in here, but these beds are looking pretty good. And of course, there's some dock there right on the edge in the path here. Some sorrel and some clover in here. And these are all in the paths, the Pennsylvania smartweed there. But we'll see how well this cover crop does do. I'll have to keep an eye on this and make sure it doesn't go to seed. This isn't irrigated either, so this is all, no irrigation, so this is done very well considering. But this is deep wood chips in this whole area. I'm starting to build up wood chips so I can make some more beds, but you can see some of the wood chips here. That's some red clover right there, and there's some quackgrass right there, unfortunately. So I got to dig out that quackgrass. Darn it, I got too many weeds in here, and some horsetail in there as well. But I'm hoping that the cover crop will help to really compete with the weeds. And I've got to get up here and take care of some of these weeds. Compete with the weeds and really put a lot more carbon into the roots of these beds, and nitrogen as well, of course. But provide some cover, competition for the weed seeds as well, and for the weeds that are already established in the aisles. So pretty happy with how well this looks at this point. So we've got, this is our shallot bed here. This was 2 rows of garlic here, and 3 rows of garlic we did right here. And then we've got all the weeds, and over there we have some of our calendula and gooseberry plants, which the deer are eating down pretty regularly. So I have to see how things go up here.